Dear viewers, the upcoming interview will be very special. My guest is one of the most outstanding people of our planet, one of the most outstanding people in Russia, and so it's a very special pleasure, a very special honor to have the opportunity to speak with him personally. Welcome. Well, I would like to thank you for the opportunity for me to give the interview. And I would like to introduce myself briefly. I, Grigori Petrovich Grabovoi, was born on November 14, 1963, in the village of Bogara in Kirovsky district of Chimkent region of Kazakhstan. I graduated from school in Kazakhstan, then graduated from Tashkent State University with a degree in mechanics at the Faculty of Applied Mathematics and Mechanics, and then I worked in a Tashkent Design Bureau of Mechanical Engineering at the Ministry of General Mechanical Engineering. The kind of activity was space instrumentation, that is, various objects related to the outer space. After that, I worked in a scientific research enterprise, Scientific Center, where I also was the head of postgraduate study. And now, I work in Spain in the field of space instrumentation. At the same time, I further develop my teachings, the direction of which is to ensure eternal life to everyone. And to that end, I conduct scientific research and create my own devices, such as the PRK-1U, a device for development of the concentration for eternal life. And I can state that the inventions in the field of instrumentation will be patented, which gives everyone the opportunity to use this equipment. And how did you come, I would say, to your calling? At what age did it begin? And how did people, the environment, react to these special abilities, to this calling? At first, I thought that seeing something happening at a distance from me, something that is not visible with the physical eyes, was the usual norm. For example, children used to ask me in my childhood in order to learn who was where. I told them, but at the same time I thought that everyone could do it. A little later, it turned out that this ability referred to the ability of clairvoyance. And when it was more specifically used by me during my studies, when I could give answers without solving problems, it was already recognized that I had a special ability and my environment reacted very positively to it. That is, when I went to school, children often asked for advice. There are even video recordings that were made by the United Nations in the place of my residence in Kazakhstan. They asked my classmates and they recalled examples like that I told someone to not walk on a log because the person would fall and the person didn't listen and fell. And they perceived me as a person who helps with his advice. And so, in general, the attitude of others towards me was very good. In general, I think it's always useful to have an additional capability on top of what can be done simply at the logical level. There are many people who are engaged in the study of a consciousness. So, what is that distinguishes your type of work and what makes you different from other researchers of consciousness? Well, in general, I think that innovative ways of researching consciousness are indispensable for people. In my research, I proceed from what I specifically do myself. That is, I myself use, for example, controlling clairvoyance or controlling forecasting, and I ascertain it and then conduct scientific research. Since I have an education in physics and mathematics, I do physical and mathematical calculations at the same time, including patenting the results of my work. For that, I use both the orthodox science, which makes it possible to objectify many processes, and my own scientific and research methods in those cases where the known classic science does not give an exact solution, and complement the field of research to obtain a result. The goal of all these activities is to ensure eternal life for all. Therefore, this practice has an abundance of practical results, which I present objectively through scientific methods and my personal practice. And there is also lots of practical results of my followers. The media often associated your name to the team of Beslan. What were the problems there, and what is the background that so much was written and talked about this? After the tragedy in Beslan, after the terrorist act, a criminal case was opened on April 20, 2006. The field reasoning for opening the case stated that there had been supposedly promises of resurrection of children in Beslan. However, as a result of the preliminary investigation conducted by the prosecutor's office and also as a result of the judicial investigation, in the acquittal part of the verdict of July 7, 2008, it was perfectly clear that there I did not victimize anyone in Beslan, and therefore that the information was proven wrong. In addition, within the framework of the criminal procedure, the lawyer Vyacheslav Konev sent out questionnaires, and practically all the victims of the terrorist act replied that there had been no such promise. Therefore, according to the prejudice of the court verdict, it was clear that this information was not substantiated, and accordingly it has now been refuted by the judiciary. So, do we face in the media, in this case, something like this that we would call today false news, a fabricated lie, to, as a result, misinform people through the media? Yes, already through the preliminary decision of the court, it was clear that this is misinformation to mislead people. On May 23, 2017, there was also a false negative forecast for the future concerning Germany, and your lawyer, Vyacheslav Konev, filed a complaint. What was the reason in general for the appearance of such a message? And was there any reaction to this complaint from your lawyer? Well, in this case, again, it was again unsubstantiated, untrue information from the mainstream media. First, one of the Ukrainian publications stated that I supposedly made a forecast concerning Germany. And the specifics of the text was such that I supposedly talked about a possible, almost feudal disintegration which may occur in the future. Well, firstly, the one who wrote the forecast probably just does not know that within the framework of the school curriculum, it's absolutely clear that such a socio-economic formation that is feudalism is a thing of the past, and therefore, naturally, I would never give a forecast with this kind of wording. And here I must say that after all I have a higher education and through that know the laws of economics. And it's obvious that Germany, which is highly developed knowledge intensive production, will naturally develop within the framework of these capabilities. And it's very clear that it is absolutely unrealistic that such a research focused country can be led to territorial fragmentation. Furthermore, just based on my economic education, I would have not be able to give such a forecast. Accordingly, we are now the complainant, so to say, that is my lawyer, Vyacheslav Konev, and he filed a complaint. And as a result of these claims, materials have already been withdrawn from many internet pages, and in the future we will continue this work up to the full objective proof that I did not give such a forecast. There is an information or a rumor on the internet that someone supposedly is in spiritual contact with you and distributes information on your behalf. Is it so? Is that possible? Is something like that, I would say, permissible? Well, I consider it's inappropriate to refer to me when there is no contact at a physical level. Because everyone has his own opinion how he receives spiritual information. And therefore, I think, of course, that is unacceptable. It's easier to contact one of the offices and ask for specific information which I can answer personally, for example. Also, on the internet, it was possible to read that your passport number and the date of your birthday are identical. Is it a coincidence? Is this a good sign or is it not true at all? Well, now I'll look at the number. In the personal number, only the number 1 and number 4 overlap. In this case, I can say that, generally speaking, that data will concern an overlap of numbers of different areas of information are always a task for a control. And it's always possible to control optimally with any numbers. Even if there was some match, I don't think an overlap of information requires any form of fixation. I noticed, for example, during the working in Spain, in the field of cosmic instrumentation, that there are certain tasks related to the fact that it's necessary to complete urgent or current tasks according to plan. And here, the one and the use of so-called digital control of deadlines, the analysis of the economic aspects and the analysis of manufacturing, where numbers are used, here, of course, in some complex structures, it's possible, based on current economic laws, to use some digital or analytical studies. Or, for example, based on other requirements. An example, to quickly build a product which, for example, has a very complex design. So, I think that in general, As an answer to this question, it is possible to say that it's necessary to study the reaction of digital systems and to use them in analytics, but of course to remain always at the level of control of the systems. Let's now talk about your work as a consciousness researcher. Controlling events by a person, and where are the limits, and are there any limits at all? I think that there are no limits because consciousness can be developed endlessly. The logic of cognition testifies to this. And since I am currently engaged in the technologies of eternal life, my task is the infinite development of consciousness for all as a task that should be achieved by everyone. But are these controls something that everyone can learn? Are there people who can and others who cannot? Can anyone, if necessary, learn this? Well, just as life is given to everyone for eternity, respectively, everyone is born with the whole arsenal of controls which basically enable him to live eternally, if he does not start to forget some elements of internal development, or to not apply some kind of control mechanism on time. Therefore, it's my opinion that everyone can do this, without any exception. And my task is that I make those mechanisms accessible that enable people to truly understand that they can indeed perform infinite actions. And they can access their creativity at the right time. At other times, they can be at rest. And in general, they can live eternally by maintaining a normal way of life, like all people. And this, of course, also means that there are no limitations. And everyone can learn all that is needed, and everyone can be able to gain enough knowledge at the right time and in the right amount to live eternally. And what contribution should you make? Or should you even contribute to helping people to learn this? Is this the only possible with your help? For the time being, I have a training program for my teachings which works as a standard education program, and many works have been published whereby all the works that are included in the program are publicly available. And the program is built on the principle that my works are simply listed by ascending dates. Therefore, like any educational program that is presented in the form of a text, it does not require my special additional participation, except in some cases to give some explanations, something I do quite rarely, since the program is built in such a way that a person can basically find the answer himself. However, I can say that my participation is required to pass on new knowledge through, say, new books, works that can be distributed through the internet and in other forms because the world is changing. To have an overview of all areas of information existing in the world, to connect them to a whole, to forecast their interaction, is, in my opinion, the task that I can do. But of course only in the area that concerns my works and their further development. And therefore it's useful to all those who study according to the standard program to simply get acquainted with the new materials from time to time, to study that what I constantly add to the training program. For a number of years, Carola Sarrazin has been spreading your teachings through the Thailand project in the north of Thailand and make this available to the people. How do you see the perspective for the Thailand project, this undertaking of Carola? Well, I consider that Carola Sarrazin did a lot for the development of my teachings in Thailand and in general for the propagation of the teachings. She had previously done work in Europe, and I can say that the Thailand project formed a lot of leading directions in the area of spiritual and physical development through the spiritual, where the principles of eternal life are conveyed in a perfectly clear, practical form that can be studied in the calm and agreeable atmosphere of Thailand. And due to my engagement in the cosmic instrument engineering, I currently do not have the time to work, for example, in Thailand personally. Nonetheless, I think that in some future, of course, it would be expedient for me to conduct training courses, for example, even small ones, maybe one time in different countries, including Thailand. In this regard, I can say that since the technologies of my teachings are given especially by the Talent Project very accurately, it means that this training corresponds to the university level within the framework of the standard curriculum. I can say that what is done in the Talent Project is the basic educational structure for universities, which I am now creating in different countries of the world. And so, this is a very important and significant project, which in fact gives an accurate knowledge of eternal life to a very large number of people. And ideologically, it corresponds conceptually exactly to the tasks of the civilization for a sustainable development, especially in the direction of ensuring eternal life. So, I'm very grateful to Carola Sarrazin. In general, to all who take part in the organization of the educational process within the Thailand project. And of course, I believe that anyone who has the opportunity to study specifically within the framework of this project have a very good perspective, including the fact that this is the basis for the university program. And who got education there, this education will potentially be considered as a part of the university education. Carola is ready to organize a big meeting with people who work with your knowledge and who are infinitely grateful to you. Is it possible that you will attend such a meeting in Thailand and visit Thailand? Well, as I said, in the future, I would of course like to participate in such meetings. However, right now, I'm working in the field of cosmic instrumentation where there are a number of products that require a certain level of secrecy. Therefore, for example, I do not have the opportunity to travel to Thailand for now. But, however, in some future, when I will be engaged in products that require less secrecy, then, of course, I want to take up such a potential opportunity and would want to visit Thailand Also, for example, to see on the spot the structure that is the result of the harmonization of the environment and the educational process. Many scientists and others say that we are now living in a special time, that there will be a kind of quantum leap that will change both physical life of the earth and people as well as consciousness. How should we treat such ideas about the quantum leap? Well, I can say that in school, well, at the university, I studied German, and once I had to read a book in German on quantum mechanics. And there was a certain point of view that a quantum leap is a certain higher energy level. Given that there is a certain dual principle of organization of matter, that is, a microsubstance at the micro level can be considered both as a particle and as a wave. And we can say that this direction is really of enormous importance in general, even from the physical point of view, from the point of view of raising the general energy status, which is actually being considered in the form of a quantum leap. It's clear that there is both a generalized point of view as well as a professional point of view. For example, at the university we had an annual course of quantum mechanics. I can say from the point of view of the known orthodox knowledge and from the point of view of the general perception of this direction of the quantum leap that to solve the questions in regard to raising a certain energy level in order to solve endless questions of life is in fact the only fundamental and the only true direction in development. Therefore, I'm now creating exactly the technologies that make it possible, in terms of a quantum leap, from the point of view of the energy level and the increase in this level, to reach such a level in a timely manner that is included in the training program, and well, amongst other things, with the help of various devices, such as the device for the development of the concentration or for eternal life, PRK1U, to, to train all people faster, even those who were not familiar with this aspect of life. These big changes, shall we say, this quantum leap, does it affect ultimately all people? And if not all, what will happen to those people that, let's put it this way, will be not part of it? What will happen to them? The point is that the concept of a quantum leap as, for example, a more comprehensive, more saturated energy level applies to all, especially in regards to the perspectives. And the necessity of the eternal life for all, necessity from the viewpoint of the fundamental structure of the world. Therefore, it's natural that this qualitatively different level where the energy level of man is determined by the fact that infinite future sends a huge flow of energy to the present, concerns everyone. Another point is that it is necessary to conduct extensive awareness training to find important directions in explaining precisely this situation, where both from the point of view of orthodox physics as well as from a general understanding of the quantum leap, it would be clear that everything can be overcome. For example, from the point of view of quantum mechanics, if we look at Schrödinger equation for quantum mechanics, I can say that there are certain types of solutions that make it possible to solve many equations of quantum mechanics which have not been solved until now. In general, the potential of science, mathematics, physics, and other scientific areas is very high to help all of mankind on a scientific level. And at the level of spiritual development, of course, everyone can prepare independently, for example, by mastering the training program of my teachings, and somehow simply moves to the level of perception where a huge infinite future is perceived as another energy level. And when a person sees his horizons, he is free and he can live eternally. I think that we are talking here more about cognition, about education, and this can be done by known means, which are very effective and guarantee the achievement of the results. This is about the global process of transforming reality, maybe even about creating a new reality. What is your contribution to the process, and what's your most likely not easy task in this regard? Well, as I said, I'm engaged in the realization of eternal life for all. And from the point of view of the transformation of reality, in this case, it's a matter of more knowledge that should be available, namely knowledge of this type. In general, even it can be said highly specialized knowledge which ensure eternal life. Although the concept of narrow specialization in this case speaks more about the constant alignment towards another eternal life. And I'm trying, within the framework of precisely these tasks, to contribute to what I see through my own abilities, for example, and what I have confirmed, and I try to teach other people through my various works that I constantly publish. And so, this will enable people, by living a normal life, a social life that is basically not different from the usual normal life of a man, to be able to go to another qualitative level of knowing. And my teachings allow for that, due to the extensive practice. For example, the six-volume book, Practice of Control, the Way of Salvation, that includes both my results and results of followers of students, which indicate that people often very easily and quickly understand this direction of development. As I already said in today's conversation, this is inherent in the personal abilities of each person from birth. And in regards to this, it turns out that we can say now that in practice, the main thing is to master the necessary knowledge in a timely manner. Well, this is what my teachings make it possible to do. To help other people, I try to develop areas of technology, such as the field of cosmic instrumentation, to control the outer space amongst other things in regards to some, let's say, problematic objects. That's why I'm adding in my technologies. Uh, as I said, I worked in the Ministry of General Mechanical Engineering, where I worked on the development of satellite systems, space instrumentation, and now I continue this work specifically for this purpose. And in order to continue this work, I registered a trademark that corresponds to the class that includes the production of spacecraft. I develop special technologies in cosmic instrumentation to ensure the resolution of issues related to the transition to a certain different qualitative level of people's lives where they have eternal life. Not only within the local framework of Earth, but also to ensure this from the point of view of control over outer space. Therefore, I think that as many people as possible should consciously participate in this process at the level of their personal goodwill. From what a joyful social system will result, with a markedly different special quality of joy, of goodwill, and with good results. Objectively different social system with a special property of joy, benevolence, and a special property of good events. This is, of course, a qualitative difference, but especially so in regards of how I said it. You brought with you the latest results of your scientific research, the device PRK1U. What is it intended for? How can I use it? The device for the development of the concentration of eternal life, PRK1U, was created in accordance with my two patents. The first patent is method of prevention of catastrophes and device for its realization, and the second patent is information carrying system. Within this method, as written in the patent, when a person generates a biosignal and directs it to optical systems, the optical systems amplify this signal. In accordance with the patent information carrying system, the system works such that the signal is transmitted practically instantly and an increase in the effect occurs. That is, the second signal transfer happens almost immediately with the first one. Due to this, a powerful level of increase of power of control emerges, which, by the way, corresponds to the notion of quantum leap, a high energy level. Due to this, a person's thought becomes more productive, thinking is accelerated, and then, corresponding to the existing practice, the controlling clairvoyance develops in people. The difference of the controlling clairvoyance is that a person sees not simply something that is not visible to the eyes from a great distance, but that at the same time, by concentrated will, directs an event towards a better direction from the point of view of eternal life, eternal development. And the controlling forecasting is developing similarly, that is, for the future. Significant improvements take place in relation to the events that the person solves both in the spiritual sphere and at the physical level, including what concerns the human organism. As a modification of this device, there are devices of medical direction where the concentration of consciousness is needed to a lesser degree, but they work more independently with broad spectrum optical system. The modification of this device, these developments have already been done, has an additional button for further acceleration, which corresponds to the level of tasks of the quantum leap and of the provision of technical means and the achievement of the required exact system in this quantum leap. In addition, here I also use digital systems, that is, near the lenses, in the next modification, there are numbers which can work with number codes, which I published for various direction of control. Well, at the same time there are independent controlling levels interacting with the optics, because the question of the chronology of the future is currently being solved. Even if the energy system, the electromagnetic field, does not have power, for example, if the power supply does not work, the system must work endlessly, eternally. And digital system in interaction with optical system create a certain quantum mechanical level which makes it possible for the user to continue working, thereby fixing his actions for eternal time, so that he would live eternally. So, I consider this equipment the new level of technology of a new generation that makes it possible to solve problems based on need, to have an infinite amount of energy, and the possibility to control this energy and actions by the human consciousness. Who is the target audience? Who is the device intended for to deploy and use? Well, this equipment was designed, and in particular this device PRK1U, so that all people can use it, because, as I said, every person has potential capabilities of eternal life, but not every person can open this direction for himself. Therefore, the device makes it possible to unfold the capabilities of any person who maybe might not have previously thought about the task of eternal life. It can also be used by those people who are spiritually developed, because it develops the concentration of eternal life starting from the level that they are at. In this regard, the device has, in fact, endless resources. The device is tasked with the following. When a person has learned to do as the device helps to do, the person can simply move on to the next level of development. And in the part which the device helped to learn, in principle this part remains as a personal apparatus of control of the person. Therefore, the device can be regarded as a system of a training level, which is necessary to solve precisely the problems of eternal life. So it's very useful for those, as I said, who already have a certain development. I believe that they can use it more effectively. Now, for example, when working with modification of the device with the individual settings of the modified version, where there is an additional button that accelerates and amplifies the effect of the device and which has numbers, I notice that when they look at materials relating to the device, the principles of work, they develop spiritually and they increase their resources more and more. And then you can increase the resource of the device, add variables of the electromagnetic field, and shift the optical components to enhance the work. And when this setup process is done, the people get a powerful device that can teach them individually very quickly. But all these settings not just happen by chance, but because statistics are being collected so that the device can work very quickly with a minimum of individual settings practically universally. That way, any person can use it both on the primary standard level and with universal access, so actually it can be used by all people. The work with this device has been carried out for more than a year, and there has not been a single negative incident. Therefore, the data of the applicability in the area of controlling systems for the development of controlling clairvoyance, of the controlling forecasting, and for rejuvenation are very expanded. There are very good results with control of any event. And in this regard, we can say, since these data are officially displayed on the website, well, just as in any scientific system where there is a scientific and technical rationale, where there are patents, where there are concrete results that are confirmed by hundreds of people, it is possible to say that this system is absolutely safe, does not emit any harmful fields, and indeed enables anyone to develop indefinitely and, in fact, very quickly comprehend everything that is needed precisely for a good solution of the problems of eternal life, including the task of the quantum leap. Can you show us, taking into account your special abilities, and also explain how the PRK1U is programmed and configured, how it functions? Yes, during the individual setting of the device, precisely for the user, I use the ability of the controlling clairvoyance. And for example, I watch how the future interaction with the device will happen. In this case, I can say that I consider first the interaction with the level of eternal life that exists at the birth of a person. I look then what kind of development happens in the future when we work independently for some time. And it turns out that this level, that is a certain sphere of eternal life, which exists in man at birth, manifests itself in different ways, depending on its segments, in different parts of the body. That is, for example, a sphere located in the region of the lumbar spine. Then the light from this sphere passes through the body, and I begin to geometrically connect that matter of eternal life that is generated by the device with that which originates from the primary level of man's birth, that is, with what comes from God, that is, created by God. And when the radiant lights then connects, it turns out that joining these lights of eternity, which come from both man and from the device, is a special task that requires controlling clairvoyance to join them quickly and accurately. Does this device play its role in the global quantum leap process as we discussed earlier? And if so, what kind of? Yes, as I said, if we start from orthodox physics, where the quantum leap is another energy level, then accordingly it is the increase in energy. Then the increase in the energy level is being realized by the structure of the quantum leap precisely from the point of view of ensuring eternal life. That is, under the conditions of very different complicated mechanisms of a quantum leap, the device provides a clear program that leads man to reach his objective faster. In some cases, with the help of the device, man can master the basic control structures in the case when he needs to work quickly within the framework of the quantum leap. Therefore, it precisely realized this task that everyone gets eternal life and eternal development during the quantum leap. What can be, once again to the topic of the quantum leap, recommend to people so that they can live through it, survive it, as harmonious as possible? In my opinion, people need to be attuned and set the eternal life as a task for each themselves and for all, ensuring eternal life, that is, for oneself and for all in the physical body. And this task makes it possible to solve issues which, for example, not only concern the quantum leap, but also levels of development that follow from there. For example, when man will have achieved eternal life, man will gather structures of tasks and development which are being realized already now for many people. And it turns out that here, in my opinion, besides this, it's very important to have a technological mechanism that can help them within the quantum leap when an increase in the energy level is taking place. And it's necessary for the process to be controlled, it's important to have accurate and correct technology. Well, my teachings makes it possible to master these technologies, and the device for the development of concentration, PRK1U, can and provides the accuracy of raising this energy level and moreover precisely in those structures, in those vibrations that ensure eternal life. And therefore, I advise first to follow the idea of eternal life everywhere and without question. And second, to use educational technologies of my teachings or the device in order to realize this in practice every moment. The point is to ensure that as many people as possible reach this new, higher level of development within this process of the quantum leap. What can be done? What measures can be taken so that as many people as possible can really do it and there will be as many as possible? Well, as I already said, the task here is such that it concerns all humans. And the main task of each person is to transfer the knowledge to another person. And besides his personal achievements, when a person can personally master technologies for a number of reasons, he has time, he is ideologically savvy, he believes that this is the only natural direction in development, he should be able to convey his own stable ideological position to all, which, as I explained in this case, is the right one. And precisely this, that is the duty of each person to pass knowledge on to others, to learn, to transfer knowledge for eternity, of course, is what each person needs to do. A last, very special, rather controversial topic, I would say, you are talking about eternal life in the physical body, but how can this be imagined and how can this be achieved? Eternal life in the physical body does not in fact represent any special problem from the point of view of the paradigm of knowledge. Because it is clear that by learning to heal tissue through consciousness, to control events that do not cause any significant damage, that by itself ensures eternal life under the condition of the existence of the eternal cosmos, the eternal earth, and so on. When we also consider from the point of view of eternal life in the physical body the actions of God, the creator of the whole world, and when we act like he does, then we can practically control the entire outer universe, that is the physical cosmos. In that sense, it turns out that starting with some specific things that a person can sense, for example, heal himself, heal, help others, build technology like PRK1U and other systems that provide eternal life, the combination of the spiritual divine action with these technologies guarantees real eternal life. This is independent of the development structures of outer space and even irrespective of, as I said, the existence of a contact with the divine level. That is, how quickly the spiritual sphere develops. Because we must understand that the provision of eternal life must occur everywhere based on the fact of life. And when the development already follows this path, precisely this level of quality occurs. And it occurs when there are already many people like that, and therefore, even spiritually, different structures from the point of view of life, well, different living beings in the world also start to live eternally, because the world is just like that, that's it. Therefore, this is ascertained, it's necessary to state this clearly here by the divine level. So, it's necessary to also know this level. In this regard, my teachings contain both science and religion, that is, religious knowledge and scientific knowledge. These are two equivalent systems of knowledge and realization of eternal life. Is there already information about someone who lives eternally? Yes, there is. Among the students who study according to my technologies, I pay attention that there are more and more people who are who already have the full information and the technological apparatus in regard to the development of eternal life. For them, it's not a problem anymore to live eternally. When, as early said, this concerns all and not just a single person, not only a few people or millions, but everyone in general, it turns out that it is important in this case to develop the range of knowledge, of a vivid, clear, and concise knowledge to such an extent that the divine level shall be combined with our daily practice and with the technologies of ensuring eternal life. Then we can say that the transfer of this process to everyone with the right approach is not such a long prospect. We are living now, we already talked about this, in times of change, unrest, also anxiety and uncertainty. You are talking about a global quantum leap. Do you have a message that you would like to convey to all people around the world? Well, I wish all people to live eternally. As far as the recommendations are concerned, I suggest doing this in the same way as a person is being engaged in a system of learning, starting from childhood in school, that is, practicing this as a special knowledge that you need to spend time on. It's better if you practice daily, as in the system of knowledge that is vitally necessary to ensure that people have what they need. They have, first of all their own abilities to develop these themselves for this process. And of course, my teachings. It enables really everyone who knows how to read, because the teaching is presented in text form, which I mainly record, that is, they are perceived as oral speech. And since I look at the information of the future while I talk, I place the words and phrases so as to ensure eternal life for everyone. That's why anyone who listens can personally find the instrument for himself, that processes and methods that makes it possible, based on the text of my teachings, to master the technologies of eternal life. And although, yes, there are many current and future problems in the world, naturally, I also just recommend studying my teachings in regards to developing the abilities of the controlling clairvoyance and controlling forecasting, which make it possible, amongst other things, along with the control of events, to see some general picture while beginning to learn our specific events in detail. As we know, we have the knowledge about the information and the ability to adjust it through control, that is, through macro regulation of the structures of one's own consciousness in the overall process of the world and through physical actions. This will, this will also allow us to solve some future tasks. This way, the teaching provides a full and completely picture of how to go about it. The self-sufficiency of the teachings is what is embedded in it, a preliminary structure that can be used to deepen the knowledge of another structure and vice versa. This will make it possible, I think, to solve all the issues of ensuring eternal life. Therefore, my recommendations are systematic training, the use of the apparatus of my teachings, the training program, any technologies that contribute to it, like the PRK1U, and of course, your own development. Thank you very much. Many thanks for this interview. Lots of success to you in the implementation of a really difficult task, a big task. And above all, we wish you to have the necessary energy, which is what the realization of your calling ultimately means. Thank you very much for everything you do for humanity. I'm also very grateful for our conversation, for this interview that is so professionally structured with respect to ensuring eternal life. I would also like to thank all those who organized this conversation. And I would like to point out that, of course, as far as possible, I'm taking my steps, and I believe that we certainly ensure eternal life for everyone, and through our joint efforts. It's important for everyone to participate, that is, each one in his place, when he participates in this process. Accordingly, I think that we will solve the problem of ensuring eternal life for all quickly enough. When this process starts, subject to certain conditions in the near future, I believe that this will happen very clearly and quickly according to the quantifiable, scientific and practical criteria. It will become clear that everyone's participation in this process is practically unique and imperative. I believe that people need to be prepared for general participation in it, regardless of what current affairs they have. Well, it's in the sense that even if I've been working in this area for a long time, everyone who is just starting to work in this direction can consider his contribution to be invaluable because eternal life is, after all, everyone's affair. Many thanks. Dear viewers, you heard it. We are talking about the global quantum leap, about the process, and each of us, independently, has the opportunity to participate in it or not. And this is what should ultimately be decided by each individually. You have the opportunity to receive this outstanding knowledge and to learn the corresponding technologies within the framework of the Thailand project. We highlight the internet address of the Thailand project with information, with further in-depth information on this knowledge and with specific dates and opportunities to participate in seminars and events. And then everyone can only decide for himself how much he or she wants to be part of this global process or not. And in this sense, as always, heartfelt thanks for your interest and attention. Goodbye for now, and see you next time.